I think the other key thing as well to talk about when it comes to Tottenham as well is that the key men at Spurs are so happy right now, and that's a huge thing. You know, Sonny is obviously very happy after a terrific season. Golden Boot winner Sonny. You know, like I've said before, what I'm expecting to see in Korea when we head off there for the tour, it's just going to be madness. It's going to be incredible, especially, you know, with him being the Golden Boot win. It's just yet another thing for him. Or I should say on him, I saw some quotes floating about from his father, which I think were taken out of context. Sung Mo Lee, who's an excellent journalist that I know who covers all South Korean football and obviously Premier League and European football as well. Check out his Twitter account. I retweeted a couple of his tweets. Just a really interesting breakdown of what Son's dad actually said. And it was all, from what I can understand, just him being very humble and that humble nature that Sonny's got as well that comes from his dad. And it's just about needing to be better and always bettering yourself, never really believing you're world class and things like that. So have a little look at that because I've seen some people taking it in a different way and it apparently just wasn't meant in that way whatsoever. And I think there's also some older quotes doing the rounds as well. But yeah, so have a little look at that. So that's Sonny, and Harry Kane obviously is very happy. You can see all his quotes coming out for the England. It's almost gone the other way around now. It kind of felt like at Spurs, England was his happy place and Spurs maybe less so last year. Whereas I feel like that kind of almost gone the other way. England obviously having issues, really struggling. Almost feels like watching them was a bit like watching Harry trying to play in Nuno's team and just struggling for service, he just looked a class above at times. Other than the slightly dodgy looking penalty incident where it seemed to go down very easily without any contact that I could see. But other than that, he did look, I felt, a cut above at times, some of the things he was doing with the ball. And I just find it interesting now that it's almost like Spurs has become his happy place again. And everything he's saying is about being excited about what the future holds. And I've told you before, if this continues this level of ambition, Bissouma is another. That's an ambition signing. That is a very good midfielder coming into Tottenham. That is a player who, you know, wanted Champions League football, and I think he will be terrific in the Champions League as well. I'm still intrigued to see what partnerships that Conte kind of works with there because, you know, who plays with who? You know, Skippy was really coming on hugely and Conte really liked him. Højbjerg as well is probably the general in that midfield. But, you know, are Bentancur and Bissouma going to be the first choice pairing? I know there are so many big games. And the beauty of the Champions League is it means that there's more Premier League games for other players because you just can't play your strongest team in every single game. You have to rotate. And this is when I say about Conte looking at his bench and thinking, that's one of the key things he wanted was to be able to look at that bench and see players of a similar standard to be able to bring on. So there's no drop in quality when he makes a substitution. I should say those young players, I'm not saying it's a drop in quality. They obviously have the potential to be that quality, but right now they're not there. So I'm intrigued to see what that midfield pairing, you know, if everyone's fit on that opening day of the season, we'll find out the fixtures and who that's going to be tomorrow morning. But I'm intrigued to know kind of who he sees as being slightly too similar, who he feels works better, which of them maybe can work as a 3 if needed. It's going to be fascinating to see that because they are all different players, but they also have some similar attributes, those 4 central midfielders. But back to Harry. Yeah, if all continues as it is, as I've told you before, he'll be willing to open, you know, talks about a potential new contract and stuff like that. So happy people. It's like a happy camp at Spurs right now. It's really interesting. It'd be interesting to see how all these new signings come in and their mentality, their characters, how they gel in the dressing room, and hopefully having no one that causes any issues. But, you know, that's about Spurs. This is about their way of looking at things and knowing exactly they've got to judge characters. They've got to judge every single side of it before they make a signing. Yeah, very interesting to see. John P asks, do you think Spencer and Richarlison are 100% Conte signings? I think Spence, from what I understand, definitely Paratici has watched him. I know that in person. Conte will be aware that they need some homegrown players as well, and that Spence fits his ideal wing back a lot better than certainly some of the options out there. So Richarlison will be a player he knows very well as well. Like I said, I know that's a player that Paratici really likes. Nobody is going to get signed off without Conte wanting them. Let's put it that way. Like I say, I do wonder, and this is purely speculation, I do wonder whether Paratici was more wanting Basuma and Conte was more wanting McKennie. And ultimately, you do what your head coach wants, especially when it's Antonio Conte. So, and this is, again, now speculation. That's just me wondering. It may have been other matters. It may have been the fact that, you know, McKennie might have been a bigger fee. It could be down to anything. Or that he's not Premier League, experience or anything. But I'd say, yeah, Conte, especially when Spurs are doing everything to keep him happy this summer, signings will be very much signed off by Conte. They will. Mark Shaz says, Ali, any info on Belotti? I said, I think in the last video, that from what I understand, Paratici maybe isn't the biggest fan. The biggest fan. That's not the best way to put it. The best way to put it is probably he doesn't see Belotti as a player who would fit exactly what they're trying to do with Conte and at Tottenham. And so what I understand is he's swerved away from that potential free transfer. Stevie Fraser asks, did you use phrases like, I know very well that, before Conte arrived? I'll be looking out for sentences that start with but. If you have picked up phrases from him, it only shows you to be an empathic, I think that means character. Or empathetic character. I don't think I've picked anything up from Conte in terms of the way he speaks. Don't know. Maybe you guys would be the best judge of that. I think I've always said I know very well that. I think that is probably a phrase that I've used a lot. What else we got here? Jet Spence, we've said that. Alfie Batchelor says, did you have to mention the Grealish deal? Still brings me trauma to this day. Me too. I know some people have been a little bit hard on in the season because he stepped up to a different level and hasn't always been a first-team starter for Man City, but I still think at that time, under Poch, I think he could have been a real game changer for Tottenham. I really do. I think that's mostly it, really, from the questions that were on the last video. Just want to check I haven't missed anything. There was a question about Basuma, which obviously we know now what's happening with him. And that's it, I think.